But it looks like we have our first two players. We have Ernest on the left running Imminent. Okay, we're going to be correcting the deck titles because I'm pretty sure he's not playing Imminent Doom. But we will get those updated. We do have them sitting at the table getting ready to play. And then as soon as that's updated, we will let you know. Yeah, I'm not sure about the players yet. We'll get that confirmed. And then looks like they're shuffling, and then we'll get the game going. Again, this is Pauper, so you might be seeing a few different cards that you're not familiar with. A lot of older cards. Some people like to bling out their Pauper decks like with their commander decks. A lot of foil and promo cards. So just to keep it interesting, keep me on my feet. We'll see what we got. Wide open format. Looking at the meta format on some of the websites, the most popular deck takes up less than 10% of the meta, which means that you can do pretty much whatever you want to in this format. Okay, so it looks like we do have Ernest and Mark. Ernest playing a blue-green aggro. I'd expect a little bit of Rancors, probably a bunch of cheap 1-2 mana creatures, and some good pump spells. Then we got Mark on Mono White Heroic. We saw the Mono White Heroic last time we did Pauper. Very interesting deck. The Heroic mechanics sat dormant for a long time in Pauper. Theros came out 4 or 5 years ago, and that mechanic's been around that whole time. And then just within the last year or two, the 1-mana Lagonis Trailblazer 0/4 Centaur has exploded onto the scene. And it's a very efficient, very strong deck. Heroic, every time you target the creature with Heroic, it gets a +1/+1 counter. And so it's already got a 0/4, so it's got a big toughness, which makes it hard to get rid of without the counters. And then once you start stacking counters on, it gets pretty crazy. It feels kind of similar to Boggles, in that you're just trying to build up your creatures, but completely different deck. Boggles also a very viable deck in Pauper. Maybe we'll see that too. I would not be surprised. We're not seeing any black here. I would not be surprised to see a few black control type decks tonight. That's very strong in this format and a pretty popular strategy among the players here. But right now we got the players looking at their opening hands. Looks like Ernest is deciding to take a mulligan. And then on Mark's side, I'm seeing 2 lands. Emerge Unscathed, which is a good give your creatures protection from color combat trick. Mutagenic Growth, Defiant. We do see the Lagonis Tri-Belter, a flyer, and the Emerge Unscathed. So very solid 2 lands, but lots of spells you can cast with just those 2 lands. So good keep for Mark. He should be able to get his game plan going pretty easily. All right, now talked with Ernest last night. And last week I told him he better not keep a 1-land hand. So we will see what he does. That looks like another mulligan. I did not see any lands there. That's so rough start to the night. Hopefully Ernest and I gets a little better after this game. But that's part of the game. That's part of the cards. Sometimes they go work for you, sometimes they don't. So right now Mark with a very playable hand, he's probably going to do pretty well this first game. Not a great way to finish the game off, or to start the night off in your tournament, but it happens. Happens to everybody. Alright, so let's see some... I want to see some lands here, Ernest. So he's got 1 land. This is the one time I'll let you keep a 1-land hand, Ernest. And he's got a blue on top, so that's good. Okay, so he's got Apostle's Blessing, which is a white spell in his green-blue deck, which might look weird, but it's okay. He's also got the he's got a Deadly Recluse and 2 blue spells I didn't quite get to, but he's got a Brainstorm, and I'm guessing maybe a Cerulean Mists. I'm not sure about the other blue. All right, so Mark's starting off with the Lagonis Tri-Belter, exactly how he wants to start his game. Ernest being able to play a Brainstorm, which hopefully will find him a few more lands. And we'll see. He's looking them over. Looks like he's thinking about getting rid of the Apostle, or putting the Apostle's Blessing. He has to put 2 cards back on top of the library. So he drew 3, he only gets to keep 2 though. Or he only gets to keep one, and then he has to put the others on top. Sorry. Alright. So we're back on Mark's side. Okay, and he played his, I believe it's a 1/1 flyer with Heroic. I'm not 100% sure on the name. But yet another heroic creature. He had the 0/4, but obviously no power, so no attack. Ernest did find a third land. He's going to play a Deadly Recluse, which is a 1/2 reach with Death Touch. So that's going to do well against the flyer on Mark's side. And that looks like a Battering Hammer Skull that Mark just drew. A dinosaur, 2/3, and it's able to tap a creature when it attacks. So that's going to help him get through that, get through the Deadly Recluse with Death Touch. So Ernest turn playing his third land, which, yeah, Cerulean Wisp was with the other card. So he has a Scorpion. It's a 1/1 Death Touch. Sedge Scorpion. So Ernest setting up a pretty good defense. Both his creatures have Death Touch. With the dinosaur on the board, though, Mark is able to control the combat step a little bit better than Ernest would probably like. So yeah, he's choosing to push in with the dinosaur. He's tapping the Recluse, which allows his flyer to get through unscathed. Looks like a Defiant Strike, which is going to put a counter on due to Heroic and also give it +1/+0 and draw a card. So that is now an attack for 3 in the air, as well as the 2/3 on the ground. Alright, and Emerge Unscathed is going to protect the dinosaur from the Death Touch, allowing him to kill off the Sedge Scorpion. Which means that from now on, until Ernest gets a second creature, Mark's going to be able to attack with all of his creatures and just tap down the spider with the dinosaur. So Cerulean Wisp. Cerulean Wisp is going to turn a creature blue, but the important part is that it draws a card for Ernest. So he needs to find a card. He was able to, it also untaps, which untapped the Recluse, which allowed it to block the flyer and kill it with the Death Touch. Ernest drawing a backup copy of the Sedge Scorpion. And getting a little antsy, so he's getting in for 1 damage. That might come back and haunt him. He does have another Sedge Scorpion to play, but the dinosaur is going to be able to tap down a creature, which will allow both of Mark's creatures to get through. He's also getting a rebound trigger off the Emerge Unscathed. Rebound allowing him to recast it during his next turn's upkeep for free. So he has to pick the target before he draws. So it looks like he indicated the Laguna Trailblazer, which puts a heroic counter on it, and it is now assumedly protection from green, which means that it's going to be unblockable. So rebound, once it resolves, the spell does go to the graveyard. You only get that one free buyback or free rebound cast one time, and then it goes to the graveyard. Jake, can you show me what that card is? I'm having a hard time remembering the name of the flyer that Mark just played. A Crow and Skyguard. Thank you very much. So 1/1 flyer for 2 mana. Okay, and then Mark just played a bolster spell. Again, I'm trying, but that's another tough one for me to remember. Again, Pauper format spans all of Magic history, so everything is a go. Alright, that looks like an Ambush Viper. Flash, 1/2, Death Touch. So he's able to block the Dinosaur with it, not the Trailblazer. I thought the Trailblazer was pro-green. Again, I'm not 100% sure. It might have been pro-blue. But it was definitely one of Ernest's chosen colors. Artful Maneuver. Thank you very much. Another rebound spell. +2/+2. The key thing about the rebound spells and why there's several of them in Mark's deck is they're going to trigger Heroic twice. Once on the initial cast and then once again when it gets cast for free. So, Artful Maneuver also adding a +2/+2 bonus. Alright, so Ernest still has Apostle's Blessing and another Sedge Scorpion. Now, with the Crow and Skyguard, though, the Sedge Scorpion is not going to help him too much. Right now, he has no answers for a flying creature. So it looks like he just passes back after playing the Sedge Scorpion. The rebound trigger will make the Skyguard at least +1/+1, and then actually with the bonus from the spell, it's now a 4/4 flyer for the turn. Mark attacking with his Dinosaur and the flyer, indicating that he's probably got some sort of combat trick to get it through this Death Touch. And that would be a Theros. Oh, shoot. God's Favor or something along those lines. It's a protection spell. So it's got protection from green. God's Willing. Oh, it was so close. I knew it was God something. So God's Willing, it gains protection from green and it allows him to scry 1. So Ernest taking a look at his Apostle's Blessing, which he'll be able to save his Sedge Scorpion from dying if he uses. But looks like he's trying to decide if he wants to do it or not. It will cost him 2 life to do, so he'll have to pay 2 life to cast it +1 mana because he has no source of white mana. He has to pay the Phyrexian way, which Phyrexian calls for a blood payment. That looks like a mutagenic growth, so Phyrexian spells on both sides of the board. Mark casting one that gives his creature +2/+2, but by triggering Heroic is actually +3/+3 in his deck. So that the Crow and Skyguard also still getting the Artful bonus that it got during the rebound earlier. That's +4, so it's a 7/7 flyer right now. So the question still stands, is Ernest going to save his Sedge Scorpion or not? Now with that being the last card in his hand, it's not an easy choice because once he has no cards in hand, he's at the mercy of his deck. But if he goes down to 1 creature, he will never be able to stop that Hammer Skull. The Territorial Hammer Skull that keeps on tapping down his blockers. Alright, so Ernest drawing a land. I talked with Ernest last night after our FNM. Every time he's on camera, he says his deck doesn't want to play. So it seems he always has an issue performing on the camera when we get him on there. And last night he ended up getting tons of lands and just couldn't find his spells. He found good spells this time, but now he seems to have having to mulligan down to 5, and then once you're down that many cards in a deck that doesn't have a lot of ways to draw cards, it's a very difficult battle. Very difficult indeed. So it looks like Mark is trying to tap the Sedge Scorpion. Ernest paying 2 life to give it pro white. And blocking the Hammer Skull. Still taking 3 damage from the flyer, but finally able to kill that dinosaur. Vitalize is 1 green mana, untap all creatures that Ernest controls. Very good combat trick. Very big surprise factor, especially against a Territorial Hammer Skull that keeps tapping down his stuff. So that could be a key card next game. It might be too little too late right now. Yeah, there's no blocker. May as well get the damage in. He's not going to be able to block with the Scorpion next turn anyway. So this attack should put Ernest down to 1. If Mark has any sort of way to pump that Sky Guard, okay, there's a Seeker of the Way, which has Prowess, and when Prowess is triggered, it also gains lifelink. It's a 2/2 bear, one that I think would probably be a good bear, but we'll have to wait for Alex to get back in here, and we'll see how it fares on the good bear bad bear scale. Pretty sure it's a good bear. And that was Seeker of the Way. It's a common printed in, I want to say that was Dragons of Tarkir, but it's also been reprinted as a promo, and that's the Iconic Masters. It's been reprinted in Iconic Masters also. The promo has some very good art on it, but solid card all around. Believe it was an uncommon in its original printing. Iconic Masters is what reduced it to common. Yeah, uncommon in Khans of Tarkir became common in Iconic Masters, and that's why we're now seeing it in Pauper. Up until Iconic Masters was not a legal card in this format. I believe that might be Seeker of Sky Shroud that Ernest just played. I'm going to double check, but I'm pretty sure that is a untapped Seeker of Sky Break. Sorry about that. Untapped target creature. So he's got lots of ways to untap stuff. He just doesn't have enough creatures to make them worthwhile. But very good answers to that Territorial Hammer Skull for game 2. It's almost like he's pre-boarded against Mark's tapping effects. I don't know if maybe he got burned by it before, but that's an awful lot of untap effects in one deck. So, sideboard, not sure what they're bringing in. I don't know their sideboards 100%. Mark's plan seemed to work pretty good, but he's also basing that off a game against a guy who mulliganed down to 5, which means you can't be too sure if it was your deck to beat him or if it was the mulligan to beat him. The mulligan hurt him a lot. So I see a Mizium skin, and that looked like a Sigil of Sleep in Ernest's hands. Sigil of Sleep, if it damages a creature, return that creature to its owner's hand. Whenever it deals damage to a player, return target creature that player controls to their hand. So, with Mark getting a bunch of counters on his creatures, that would be a good one to bring in on Ernest's side. Because once the creature is bounced from the battlefield, all those counters fall away. So he's going through his deck. There's a mana leak he's looking at. Mark was pretty tight on his mana. He never really had a whole lot of extra. Mana leak, a nice answer to his cards. Reclaim gets back a card from his graveyard. There's Mizium Skin. Mizium Skin gives your creature hexproof and +0/+4, I believe. So he's looking at taking that out. Hunger the Howl Pack puts counters on. Viridian Longbow allows him to tap his creatures to shoot, which could be relevant. Being able to shoot a heroic creature in response to the heroic trigger. And I'm pretty sure he's leaving all of his untap effects in, because after seeing the Hammer Skull, that appears to be a pretty significant part of Mark's strategy right now. Just tap any blockers out of the way and get through. I might consider taking out the Viridian Longbows, but with the number of Death Touch creatures he has, tapping a Death Touch creature to deal 1 damage to any creature turns into a tap to destroy any creature, which is a very nice combo when you have Death Touch. So it looks like 2 Vitalize that he's got set aside. Okay, I'm not 100% sure. We've seen the ones he's looking at as Dispel and Essence Scatters. Essence Scatters seems pretty strong. Mark is definitely a creature-based deck, and if he can keep up with them and keep that board clear, it will give him time to advance Ernest's game plan. Let's see. Negates. A negate spell. Negating a spell with rebound prevents the rebound from ever happening. So we saw Mark cast 2 separate rebound spells, which triggered Heroic a total of 4 times between the 2 spells. If Ernest were able to negate any of those the initial time, you can also negate it the second time, but by then they've gotten their value out of it already. But having negate available to stop those, he also had Dispel on the sideboard. Dispel will also work well against most of the rebound spells. Most of them, I believe, are instants. But we will see. And I'm assuming Ernest will be on the play. As I said yesterday, I am a strong believer in being on the play. I understand that's not always the right choice, but that's always the choice for me. So I'm going to go with Ernest on the play. I might be wrong, but that's my hunch. So they're both players getting a good shuffling. Ernest opting to go with no sleeves tonight. Not a move you see very often. But in Pauper, most of the cards are common. Well, they're all common at some point. Most people are playing the common versions, and commons tend to be easier to get at a decent price for most cards. Now, there are some that are not cheap at all, especially if you enjoy foiling out your deck or doing any of that stuff with promos. But for the most part, Pauper is a very affordable format to get into, which is one of the reasons that it has experienced the surge that has been experienced over the last year. A lot of people are seeing it as a very competitive format, which you can do some really broken stuff in Pauper. It's a fun format, and the cost to entry is nowhere near what it is for Modern or Legacy or even Standard. It's a very easy to enter format. All right, no mulligans, Ernest. No mulligans. All right, looks like Ernest looking at his top 7 cards. I see 2 lands, 1 tap land, which is fine, and an island. That seems like a decent enough hand. He's got a Primal Hex Beast, Vitalize, Brainstorm, and a Sedge Scorpion. Oh, I'm sorry, 3 lands. Okay, so he's got a Hexproof 3/3. Untap all his creatures, Brainstorm to find more cards, and the Sedge Scorpion, and we're trying to get the hand on camera. We appreciate the players working with us to let us see their hands as clearly as possible. Thank you, Ernest. Sometimes it's a little difficult to get it in the right place, though. Also, there's a lot... We've been having a little issue with glare on the cards. Jake spends a lot of time setting up the camera every night, and that's one of the things we have to fight with. He's getting better. And I believe we troubleshot all the glare spots off the table. So this time it looks like Mark's turn to mulligan. And I'm hearing that he's mulliganing down to 5 now. So that's his second mulligan. So now Ernest sitting over there saying, haha, now it's your turn. Because he had to fight through this last time. So we'll see if Mark is able to draw his way out of it. Hopefully he's able to keep his 5 cards. That, again, once you're down to 5 cards, if you have any land, it's probably a good enough hand. You can't really be too choosy at 5. Because once you're going down to 4, you're almost conceding the game, is how it feels a lot of the time. Right now, you're just hoping to be able to play, to be able to do something on your side of the board when you're mulligan down to 5. Now, as far as too many lands or too many spells in my hand, if I'm deciding to mulligan, I will more likely keep a hand with too many lands. Okay, it looks like he's keeping Scrying to the bottom, probably because it wasn't a land. So, yeah, 5 cards, no lands. At that point, though, you got to do something. He has an Akroan Skyguard, it looked like, which is 2 mana. And that, I believe that was his first play. So, he scryed away a non-land to the bottom, just hoping to get some planes. The advantage here for Mark, he is a mono white deck, which means that any land is a good land for him. So he's got Seeker of the Way at the back, Territorial Hammer Skull, and I believe that's an Akroan Skyguard. And then 2 1-mana spells to trigger Heroic or protect his creatures. Hyena Umbra being the aura that he had. Hyena Umbra having what's called Totem Armor. Totem Armor is an ability that came out, I believe, in World Wake. If the creature that's enchanted by Hyena Umbra would die, instead you remove the Umbra from it, and the creature does not die. Okay, so there's the Akroan Skyguard. Playing that one over Seeker of the Way because he has multiple spells to pump it, and because there's a Death Touch creature on the ground. So Seeker won't be able to go anywhere. Akroan Skyguard can go everywhere. I would not be surprised next turn to see the Hyena Umbra being played on his Akroan Skyguard, and that would allow him to attack for 3 on his next turn. Ernest on Mark's end step, casting Brainstorm. And now we're going to Ernest's turn, untapping. I expect to see an attack from this Hedge Scorpion since he's not going to be able to block with it. And it is very likely that Mark will not want to block with his. So Ernest hitting all of his lands. He's 1 land away from playing the Primal Hex Beast. Again, a 3/3 hexproof creature. So there's the attack for 1, dropping Mark to 18. Looks like an Emerge Unscathed on Mark's side. There's our Hyena Umbra. It's +1/+1, and I believe first strike. Also triggering Heroic to put a counter on the Akroan Skyguard. There's an attack for 3, dropping Ernest down to 17. Let's see. We have not seen any Rancors, and going through Ernest's deck, blue-green aggro, I did not see any Rancors as he was shuffling through for sideboarding. Rancor, a very good common aura that you see in a lot of Pauper decks that are running green. +2/+0 and trample for 1 green mana, and if it goes to the graveyard, it comes right back to your hand instead of staying in the graveyard. Very useful, very effective spell. So we see a second Hyena Umbra. So now if the Skyguard would die, Mark can choose which one of those Hyena Umbras gets sacrificed, and thank you, Jake, for pulling it up. That is +1/+1 and first strike. So that is now a 5/5 first strike. It does not get firstest or double just because it has 2 incidents of first strike. It just deals damage during the first strike step. Alright, so there's Thornwood Falls, which is going to gain 1 life back for Ernest. Helps a little, but he's still getting beat down for 5 every turn in the air. So there's an attack for 4, 1 Death Touch, and 3/3 Hex Beast. Seeker of the Way is the draw with an Emerge Unscathed in hand. Has yet to find a 3rd land. Plays Seeker of the Way, which is going to be able to block on the ground. And he attacks for 5. So Mark attacking very aggressively and playing very well for a hand that opened with no lands. Again, it goes against my guidance of never keep a no land hand. And usually I say never keep a 1 land hand. But when you're mulligan to 5, if the hand looks like it might be playable, at that point, all bets are off. So, looks like he might have made the right choice. He might pull this one out. Finally finds a third land, which means that he can cast a spell and hold up a trick. Oh, emerge unscathed on Seeker of the Way. That's going to trigger prowess, giving the creature lifelink. Now, it would have triggered prowess if he targeted a Crow and Skyguard as well. Mana Leak coming out. Prowess is already triggered, as is the lifelink. Alright, and there's God's Willing. Scry looks like Defiant Strike. He's leaving it on top. So that's 2 prowess triggers now. That is a 4/4 Secret Away. And a 5/5 a Crow and Skyguard, attacking for 9 total. There's a Vitalize. However, I'm pretty sure he gave it Pro. He might have given it Pro Blue. Alright, the fact that he was able to block looks like he gave it Pro Blue. However, it did have lifelink. Mark gains 4 life and is able to take out this Edge Scorpion. And Ernest now down to 3 life. He's dead next turn to the Skyguard if he can't find an answer. He does have a Vitalize, but he doesn't have a Spider or any way to block a flyer. And it looks like all he drew is an island. One of these nights, Ernest, you are going to win on stream. I have faith in you. You're going to come through. Having, looks like 4 lands in hand. That's not the way to do it, though. So this is yet another one of those games. He's drawn 9. He's got 9 lands and 5 spells. That's not the ratio you want. So Mark, very good job coming back from a no land 5-card hand, being able to play it all out on 2 lands. And Defiant Strike is going to draw him another card and trigger Heroic again. Right now he's got to play around some sort of spell from Ernest. Ernest not throwing in the towel. If your opponent's got you, make them beat you. They might make a mistake and give you that extra turn you need to get the win. Looks like a cartouche to make it bigger. It also creates a 1/1 warrior. And there's the handshake. That's a tough loss, Ernest. I'm pretty sure one of these nights your deck's going to work for you on stream. And yeah, Mark, that was an impressive game, especially for a 5-card no land hand. I think if Ernest had drawn a little more spells over lands, obviously, because he way overdrew lands that game, but that was a good showing. Normally, you mold a 5, you don't expect to do well.